Good morning. It's nearly 3 a.m. and you join me once again from my incredibly luxurious office here in a medical facility in East London. Speaking of which, if you are bored and you're thinking of going out and seeing your mates or just going and visiting someone or you just want to go somewhere and do something, do me and everyone else I work with a favour and don't. Just until this blows over. Honestly, you'll be doing us a massive solid. Stay in and play some games. There are plenty to choose from, and most of them are pretty good. I'm making this video today. I know the title of this video is going to be very weird, and I will get to it in a minute. But firstly, I just want to let you know something. I am going to be starting a new video series, and this is the first part of that. I recently, yesterday, finished the Castlevani-eh series that I put up, and what that was a look at some of the very weird and strange and kind of wonderful Castlevania games that never really get talked about. So, summing up very quickly, I am a brand new Castlevania fan, and I just devoured everything I got into. I'll find a Castlevania game and play it, and then find another one and play that, and eventually I thought, well, I must have nearly played them all, right? And then I went onto the internet and Googled a list of Castlevania games, and no, there are tons, like a lot. And some of them were so weird and the descriptions were so bizarre, I had to know. So what I did was I started a video series called Castlevani-eh, where I would go in blind, for the most part, just fire up a game, see if it's good, see if it's trash, see if it could be a classic. It could be terrible, but it could be really good. And I did. I found at least 3 really excellent Castlevania games. 2, and also Castlevania Judgment, which is very weird, but I love it. So yeah, I had a lot of fun. And the way I got into Castlevania in the first place was because I have a Raspberry Pi and I just hit random. My Raspberry Pi, my workhorse Raspberry Pi, has got so many games on it. I calculated that if I played one game every day, regardless of whether I finished it or not, just one game every day, it would take me 12 and a half years to play everything on it. No one's got that amount of time. I barely have 12 and a half minutes at the moment. So what I did was I just turned it on, hit random, it gave me Castlevania 3. And I didn't really think it was that good, but I loved the music. So I kept playing, and then the more Castlevania games I played, I loved the music, and then when I got to the Metroidvanias, that did it for me. So the other day, getting back to the point of this video and the point of this series, the other day, same Raspberry Pi, put it on, just hit random, and it found me a game I'd never heard of, which is why I do it. And it was an Indiana Jones game. And I'm sitting there playing it. I played the first, half an hour of it, and I was like, this is really, really good. Why does no one talk about this? Why has no one mentioned this? When you look for the system it came out on, when you look at like top 10 games or even like top 20 or maybe even top 50 games, it's not even on there. I think mostly it's a license thing. So around about the time that game came out, there are a lot of licensed games, and most of them were, let's be honest, bad. Like really bad. This is in the 16-bit era. So I did the same thing. I went onto Google and I just typed list of Indiana Jones games. And boy, if you thought there were a lot of Castlevania games, you should see how many Indiana Jones games there are. There's tons of them. Just and I'm not just talking about ports, like sideways ports of the same game. I'm talking about different games. There are so many. Now, I've played 2 Indiana Jones games in my life. I've played Fate of Atlantis on PC CD-ROM, and I've played the Amstrad CPC port of the arcade game, like the Temple of Doom arcade game on my cousin's Amstrad. That's it. That's all I've played. You know what I mean? Like, I played a lot of, licensed games, but Indiana Jones games, there's like that and the Lego game. You know what I mean? So I thought I'd do the same thing again. I thought I'd take 6 based on a loose description, like a brief synopsis of each game. Pick ones that sound very, very strange, and collect them together and do something that I'm going to call, keeping in the same, silly, punny theme, I'm going to call Indiana Jones and the Vault of Forgotten Games, or the Vault of Lost Games or something. Because these are games that no one talks about, no one mentions. They could be good, they could be terrible, but they could be good. You never know. Maybe I'll, benefit out of it like I did with Castlevani and find some amazing bangers to play. So, getting back to the point of this video, what I thought I would do is start this new series by talking about something that is still very, very, very odd to me. And it involves this. Now, this is a DVD box set that came out in 2003. And what it is the DVDs of Indy's first, what they called at the time, The Complete Adventure, but then they later did an abhorrent injustice to that. So the original trilogy is on DVD here. And what it is just all bundled up, collected together, and all features added in, whatnot. Now, that came out in 2003. In 2008, a game came out on the PlayStation 2 called Lego Indiana Jones, the original trilogy, which I played and I loved because I loved the Star Wars one. Lego Star Wars 2, the original trilogy for that. I adored that game. So Indiana Jones was announced. I'm like, absolutely, yes. So I'm playing through Lego Indiana Jones, and I found an Easter egg. Now, finding Easter egg in those Lego games is nothing uncommon, especially out of canon, out of universe Easter eggs as well, because they love to make like pop culture references and references to everything. And they also like doing a lot of, inside references. So they'll do references to others LucasArts stuff and, whatnot. So you'll find Han Solo in Indy, and you'll find Indy in the Star Wars stuff, and Chewie and stuff like that. So that's not that weird. But while playing this game that came out in, remember, 2008. So while playing the Lego Indiana Jones trilogy for the PlayStation 2, I found a reference in it, an Easter egg reference to this, which no one ever talks about. Like, I obviously everyone's found it. It's not, that uncommon. But it specifically references this, which is weird because it came out 5 years before. So, and I think the weirdest thing is because it doesn't necessarily involve the 3 movies. So inside this box set, you have not 1, 2, 3, but 4 discs. You have the 3 movies. So you have the original movie. Where is it? Raiders of the Lost Ark. And you have Temple of Doom, which is the best one. And then you have Last Crusade. But you also have this, which is the Indiana Jones bonus materials disc, and George Lucas and a very, very, very hairy Steven Spielberg. So the bonus disc is basically just a load of bonus features, but the biggest part of that is like a documentary which chronicles the making of the original trilogy. And that was what would now be considered an EPK, or electronic press kit. Back then you had a documentary crew at the time filming everything, filming the filming, and then that would be given to like radio stations, TV stations, theatres and stuff like that. Well, what they did in 2003 when they brought out this box set was compile that in, make a documentary about it, and then have Spielberg and Lucas and everyone today, or in 2003, talking about making it back then. Here's the thing. In Lego Indiana Jones 2, in Lego Indiana Jones for the PlayStation 2, there is an Easter egg referencing something that someone says on this bonus disc. And it's so weird and obscure and specific that it can't be anything else. It's very, very strange. And I remember seeing it when I played through the game at the time. This came out 5 years before, and I'd watched it a bunch of times. So when I was playing through the game, I got to that specific Easter egg, and I was like, oh, that's kind of clever, but really specific. Like, okay, are you sure? This is, okay, well, fair enough. The thing that I think most people got distracted by is that right next to it, there's another more obvious Easter egg, like literally right next to it. So people just saw that and then kind of forgot the larger backgroundy one to the side. But yeah, what I thought I'd do is I'd kick off this video series by quickly showing you a quick clip of probably the most, not random because it's so specific, the most obscure and specific and really strange Easter egg that I've ever encountered, and no one seems to be talking. I mean, I've checked online and no one seems to have mentioned it. Hopefully, once this quarantine's over, I can start my new series, which I think I'm going to call Indiana Jones and the Vault of Forgotten Games, or something similar to that. I'll get around to it. But yeah, let's have a quick look. Okay, here we are. Lego Indiana Jones, The Original Adventures on the PS2. This Easter egg is in the third level, which is the City of Danger, which is from Raiders of the Lost Ark. And you need one of these two characters. You need any German officer or Indiana Jones dressed as a German officer. Once you've got those two characters, you can go into free play. After you've done the two sections with the keys, you'll come to this area. Now this door only lets through German soldiers. If you are in combat, they'll suss you out and they'll throw a grenade out and blow you up. So you can see, boom. So once those guys are dealt with, you can be any German or Indiana Jones dressed as a German, knock on the door, and the soldier will let you through. And this is where it gets super specific. So you quite happily stroll through the door, and you come out on this veranda looking thing. So as you can see, there are TV aerials and satellite dishes everywhere, and an analog TV with rolling bars on it, like an old style, almost like a 50s, 60s TV. And this is what struck me as really specific. Why are there all these TV aerials? Why are the satellite dishes there? What is going on? Well, again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut back to that small section in the documentary. It's about 20 or so minutes in, and you'll see exactly what this is referencing. Once you've done it, you get the canister, like the super canister that you're supposed to collect to get all the unlockables and Easter eggs. But let's just quickly cut to the documentary and show you why all these aerials are there.
The first question I asked, actually, before I even read the script, when it said it's in Egypt, I said, do we see the Sphinx, the pyramids, or any of that? I said, no, just the streets. I said, then we don't have to go to Egypt. Tunisia is a much easier place to shoot, and we'd been there before, so I knew the country.
The orange gag, the butcher's thing, and then the basket comes through here.
Another challenge that we had was, of course, shooting the period for the 1930s. And once we got to these locations, once again, we didn't have computers that could erase wires and TV antennas and everything. We had to do it ourselves.
This is another good angle right over here.
We probably removed 200 or 300 aerials, especially from the wide panoramic shot that brings Sala and Marion and Indy out onto the veranda. But in a way, I kind of like that a lot of effort went into creating an authenticity that couldn't have been phonied up 23 years ago.
Cairo, city of the living, a paradise on earth.
So yeah, like I was saying, it's so specific, it has to be referencing that. There's no other reason for it to exist. And I think that the reason no one picked up on it, even though that documentary came out 5 years before, is because of this. This picture of this dog stuck to the pole in the veranda. Let's cut back to the documentary.
Indiana was my dog. Indiana was the prototype from the Wookiee for Chewbacca. He was this big, huge Malamute, would sit next to me in the car, giant bear of a dog. And so I named the character after my dog. And ultimately we put that in the movie.
So yeah, I think everyone that's a fan of Indiana Jones already knew that. And I think that's the reason that all the satellite dishes kind of got forgotten about. But yeah, I just thought that was a really weird, specific Easter egg that no one seems to have picked up on. Right, cool. Peace.